Hello and welcome to the next video in this series. We are looking today at the Dented Shield Season 1, 18 Blood Bowl League we played in, which most of the videos in this channel have been from, where we've been looking at looking back at games, looking at some strategic and tactical analysis, and going over the games. What I want to do with this one is to just look at each of these teams and how they've developed over the 9 games that they've all played. Not quite all the teams. This bottom team had to drop out for now. Coach just doesn't have time to be playing Blood Bowl at the moment, and we're going to look at how all the other teams have developed, because all the other 7 teams have played 9 matches as of last night, when this Nurgle team played their 9th game against my Halfling team, just to see if we can get some of them levelled. Did unfortunately accidentally kill a Pestigore from the team, which is a real shame. But 2 halflings and a tree man died in return, and there were a couple of touchdowns scored as well, so they got some star player points down from that match. But anyway, let's have a quick look through the teams. This was the final standings for the sort of regular season portion of things, where we all played each other once in a round robin. We then went into 2 separate knockouts, so the top 4 played each other in 2 rounds to knock out to decide the winner. Bottom 4 did the same, and we finished almost in this exact order. Just the top 2 switched round, because the final was those 2 teams, and the Elven Union team won that by a touchdown. I think, was it one? Well, I don't remember. But back in this playlist, there is that match if you want to look back at it. So I thought we'd go through them. Let's start at the top. So the Elven Union team, just look at how they've developed, where it might be good to look next for them. And now I'll cut this bit because I need to blow my nose. So there are the Rivendell All-Stars, up to 13 players, which is quite a decent number. I like to see 14 players as sort of the optimal number when you've got a fully developed team, so obviously still space for that. Do have 4 catchers, 2 blitzers and 2 throwers, so that's all the positionals. Another alignment is optional, honestly, so they're in quite good shape. I sort of like to aim at maybe 4 or 5 re-rolls altogether as well, so that could be another thing that might be worth adding. But Elven teams shouldn't need re-rolls quite as much as some other teams, because all their agility based rolls are mostly on 2+. So it's looking in good shape after 9 games. All the positionals, and some good levels on players as well. Throwers, it's a good idea. So with throwers, they've got one advance each. Accurate and leader are both solid choices. There's very little wrong with anything that anyone's done with these teams, but something to consider with your throwers is things like, how are you going to make them different? Do you want them to both just be playing all the time? Do you want them both to be playing when you attack and maybe 1 when you defend, or none when you defend? And do you want to build one to be better at sort of defensive stuff? So you might be looking at someone who can go retrieve the ball once you've knocked it loose and then throw it to somebody. And what skills are going to be important for that? So you might, because something that actually a lot of the teams in this league are missing is more defensive players. They've been levelling players to be good at sort of decent all-round players, or to be good at scoring touchdowns. But there are very few players so far in the league who are really good defensively. And thrower is a position where you can maybe think of that, because you don't necessarily want to be playing 2 throwers all the time, where there are sort of other skill gaps you might want to be filling. So a thrower could be a good candidate for a more defensive player. So as these 2 continue to develop, it might just be worth thinking about what you want them to specialise in, or do you just want them to both be good throwers all round, which is, it's perfectly valid, but it's just worth considering how they fit into the rest of the team. Who's going to play when you attack and who's going to play when you defend? Blitzers, so both took dodge as their first advance, which is almost really expected, because block, dodge and sidestep as a combination is incredibly annoying to deal with, as I've found when I've played this team twice. The only other advance on blitzers so far is guard. I can understand why you'd want guard, like basically any time you roll a double, because it can be difficult to get on an Elven team without sort of strength skill access, and it looks like the sort of 2 doubles rolled so far have both been for that. I'm not sure I would have wanted it on a blitzer, And I might have taken the opportunity to take Mighty Blow instead, and to have someone who's going to be great at just getting people off the pitch. I think I might have gone for that, but I can understand why you'd want guard. I just think with blitzers, I wouldn't want them to be the ones sort of getting stuck in and marking players up and things like that. Although with their other skill combinations, they are, they're very durable and they're quite unlikely to go down. But having guard does mean they have to be marking players all the time, which I wouldn't necessarily want with my blitzers. Catchers, I think there's definitely space here for another defensive-minded one. What's happened with this one, where they've picked up a movement penalty and a strength increase, it's sort of been quite noticeable watching this team play that this catcher has become the one who's blitzing most of the time, probably because they're the easiest one to get 2 dice with, but it does mean, dodge is always going to be useful anyway, but this catcher, with the way the coach has been using this catcher, they're kind of crying out for block as their next advance, just to be that person who's going to go blitzing all the time. Then you've got to wonder what you're going to do with your blitzers, and then maybe taking guard is a decent enough thing to do if you're going to just use that blitzer in that really different way. But something I'd like to see on one of these catchers, perhaps this one who hasn't leveled yet, but maybe the one just with dodge, because taking dump off makes for someone who's obviously going to be carrying the ball and then trying to get rid of it when they're blocked. Dodge is useful anywhere, but I'd like to see the sort of Saka build. Didn't really need to click on that player, but yeah, so I like to build a Saka with like wrestle, strip ball and tackle, which is a really common thing. It's not like I've invented that and I'm groundbreaking. But I think a catcher with movement 8 and strength 3 is just a great candidate for that skill combination. Then you've got someone who you don't necessarily want to be playing on attack all the time, and you can think about who your more attacking and defensive players. And I just think a catcher is a really good candidate for that. With the sort of range of movement they've got, they can be really dangerous to a ball carrier. With agility 4, there's potential to take leap on them as well. Which is getting quite deep into player development by that point, but it makes them a really dangerous person to go get the ball off the opposition, and is something worth considering. Linemen, there's not a lot to say. I think they can only take general normally, so this one's got guard and block, and it is developing great. You've got a tough one there, which is fine. I'm not sure I would have taken the armour increase as a first advance. I think there are skills that are more valuable. There's a lack of wrestle in this team, and besides maybe having a Saka catcher with wrestle, it might be worth having a lineman or 2 with them as well. It can be really good to shut down players with block, make sure that they're going to hit the turf, and it's great to just splash a bit of wrestle into the team and have that available. I quite rarely use kickers, but I am starting to sort of see the value of them, and looking at getting one into my own team as well. And it's a really useful thing to have. But again, this is a player who basically doesn't need to be on the pitch when you're receiving the ball. So developing this player further, it's good to think about what other defensive skills are going to be good to make them better at defending, because they're only going to be on the pitch, or only really need to be on the pitch when you're kicking. And that's where things like diving tackle could be really useful, but although you're looking for an Elven lineman can take agility, can't they? Yeah. So I misspoke a bit before, but yeah, diving tackle is a great skill, defensive skill for an Elven lineman. Things like tackle are useful. Wrestle could be useful on this one, and even really situational things like pass block might be useful on that kind of a player who's just is not going to be much good when you're attacking anyway, so you might as well build them to be really good at defending, or have someone who can sit behind your line and pick off anyone who gets through. And wrestle's good for if you're doing that, but if you're just going to try and mark them up, things like diving tackle was great, and pass block as a chance to maybe intercept or put pressure on a catcher, can be really useful. I think it's about all for these. I'm going to try and this isn't going to be like a 40-minute long thing. I'm going to try and fly through these a bit quicker. So Lizardmen team here were second overall in the end. They had some bad injuries towards the end, which I think probably changed things around for the final a bit. And they're down to, so it's 4 2, 4, 6, 7. So down to 11 players. So no bench at the moment with this injured skink at the moment. They did lose a Bloxsaurus quite near the end, and I think another skink died as well. And they've had a couple of injuries on Saurus here. Movement is, I mean, you normally get you sort of strength 4 low agility players aren't anything like this quick. So having a movement 6 Saurus is a really good thing, and it's one of the things that makes them dangerous. But a movement penalty doesn't hurt them that much if you're going to have one or two who probably are just going to stand around on the line of scrimmage. It's not a big loss having a movement penalty on one. An armor penalty is, and I mean, it doesn't make this Saurus in any a worse player at all, but it does make them more vulnerable. So they're perhaps not going to be your first choice one. So maybe if you want to protect them, you need to keep them out of danger a bit more. Maybe eventually using them to be the one who throws blitzes and then gets out of the way, gets out of danger. Or just carry on using them as you are and expect them to maybe get injured more, and maybe die quicker than some of the others might. Block is obviously a great first choice for any Saurus. I think they're a great candidate for that sort of Saka build, that sort of wrestle, strip ball, tackle as well, and having one of those could be really useful as these other ones continue to develop. Skinks can't really do that because they're only strength 2, so they're not going to be that great at going after ball carriers without a lot of help, which you can't always get them. But yeah, a Saurus who can go challenge a ball carrier would be quite scary, and especially with that sort of those 3 skills, a Saka makes a Saka like really good at what they do. It's well worth looking at. I've always found things that can only take agility skills like skinks or goblins, halflings quite difficult to level because you're often like you want some general skills on them to make them really good at what they do. Sidestep is a great one to take, and that's been quite popular, and is really useful for your positioning, and pairing with dodge as well. It means they're going to be pushed back more often without going over. A couple of diving tacklers who are great defensively, and really useful to have. It might be worth looking at things like making someone who's sort of optimised, like maybe the next skink who levels, and this one is just missing the game, I think. So it's just a missing the game, so no permanent entry on this one to worry about. But the next one leveling, it might be good to optimise them at just being quick, so they have agility skills available, like jump up, sprint and sure feet, all are just about making that one player who's going to be quicker than all your others. That's maybe something that's missing. There's no catch on any of them either, and catch is a great thing to splash in to just make it more reliable to move the ball around when you need to. So getting your really quick guy further forward and protected, you can have a really quick turnaround where another skink comes, hands them the ball, and you've got that re-roll on the catch for the handoff, and then you're suddenly scoring quite quickly. And having the option of moving the ball around rather than just running it, just makes you a bit more flexible and more of a sort of quick scoring threat. So some catch could be useful on some of those skinks as well. The Croxigore, just the one I've answered so far. With any big guy player, I'm always hoping for a double, and then they inevitably never come. But guard is a great choice. Oh, something I should have mentioned with Saurus as well. I mean, getting guard on a couple of Saurus would be good, but because they're so quick for this type of high strength, low agility player, break tackle is a fantastic skill for them, just to keep him a bit more manoeuvrable and to be a threat in places the opposition might not expect. So it's well worth considering that. As for how we do for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we've got 6 Saurus in the team. 1 Croxigore, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skinks. So maybe, could afford another skink at the moment. Might want to save up for rerolls, but there's things to consider. I'd probably be opting for another skink. Could be spending that money on that now. That's the Lizardmen. Did all right. Third was me. With my Chaos team here. Now, where most of the other teams are lacking a bit in defensive players, I'm lacking in those sort of reliable attacking players, because I prefer to build my defensive players first. I feel like if I'd built a Beastman straight away to have like extra arms or sure hands, and to be my reliable ball carrier who's going to score all the touchdowns. I tend to find when I do that, that player levels really quickly and everyone else just lags behind, and you get kind of standout players who are really good, but yeah, you're struggling to level everyone else, and your team isn't as good as a result. So I've sort of had this aim of trying to score 2 touchdowns with every Beastman first. That isn't how everyone's got to their first level or 2, but yeah, I've been deliberately not building any. I haven't taken sure hands or extra arms on anyone yet, and I think my last 2 beastmen who level are going to get those kinds of skills, and then long term be the players who can reliably score touchdowns. Start with Chaos Warriors because there's only 4 of them though. Only 2 leveled so far, both have taken block. The only thing I wouldn't take over block first, even if I rolled a double, would be if I got 1 with strength 5, I'd take that over block. Just have 1 strength 5 player, but anything else, no matter what I rolled, I'd just be taking block. Probably 1 block mighty blow, 3 block guard is where I'm heading with these, and then if I did get a strength increase, I'd probably look at tentacles, just to get some of that in. Tentacles is quite effective with a strength 4 player, but it's really effective with a strength 5 player. And yeah, I think it's just quite a good thing to have. It's a nice thing to have, nice option to have. And I'd probably splash some tentacles in on the strength 4 ones. But yeah, skills like stand firm and guard, grab are great things to pair with guard. I think grab particularly to help you keep you like in control of where people you're pushing back are going, making sure you're still getting assists on them. Yeah, that's the Warriors. I think the only other mutation, I'd probably do the classic pairing of Mighty Blow and Claw on the block Mighty Blow one. But the Warriors are all levelling quite slowly in this team. I mean, this guy, number 6 here, has been in the team since the beginning, hasn't got a star player point yet. One of the other ones on 5, yeah, has been in since the beginning, only has 5 points from an MVP. And the other 2 are sort of on 7 and was the other one 12. So I think this guy's had the most casualties, but although actually he might have had two MVPs. We can look it up. Actually, I think he might have had 2 MVPs in a casualty. Yeah, that's it. It's been a really low casualty output from this team. It's been quite disappointing. I've wanted more, but it hasn't come. Yeah, that's the Warriors. Beastmen, I'm not going to hire a Minotaur for this team because I don't like them in a Chaos team. I feel like with Wild Animal you quite often are forced to use your blitz with a Minotaur, and I like to be able to blitz with Beastmen. I think having someone go from strength 3 to strength 5 with horns is strength 3 to 4 is much more valuable than someone going from strength 5 to strength 6. So I want to be blitzing with a Beastman every turn. And I try to do that. Sometimes a Chaos Warrior is in a better position to do it, but I like to have that 5th strength 4 block available every turn, so I don't want to have to blitz with a Minotaur because it loses me that, and it reduces the value of all of my Beastmen who are the bulk of my team. So I don't like having a Minotaur. The new version that's coming, it looks like Chaos are going to be able to replace that Minotaur with an Ogre or a Troll, and that is great, and I will definitely be using an Ogre in a Chaos team in future, probably as just a really sturdy guard tentacles platform. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, but no Minotaur. 4 Warriors and 10 Beastmen is all the team I want. I might get 1 more reroll just I think 5's a nice number to have. A leader's quite hard to come by for this team, so I'll probably saving up for 1 reroll next unless I have to replace anybody. And then, I don't know, maybe some coaches or cheerleaders, but they're of limited value, really limited value and really situational. And then I'll probably be looking at just pouring money into stadium so my team value doesn't go too high. Yeah, that's about all. But Beastmen, so 10 of them. I like that they're so versatile with general mutation and strength skills available. And there's so many different things you can do with them. I like to just really diversify their roles. So this top one here with Diving Tackle and Wrestle, who's become quite an important player when I'm defending. Diving Tackle is a great way of controlling or at least putting big risks on what the attacking team can do. So I like to just get him marking scoring threats, and with Wrestle he's got the option of a sort of relatively safe way of trying to bring them down as well. I don't know what else I'm going with. I might use really situational things like pass block, like I was talking about that defensive elven lineman before. Eventually, when I've got enough leveled beastmen, this guy's only going to play when I'm kicking. So I'll be looking at skills to make him better at that as well. I don't want to put kick on this because I've got another idea for that. Which I'll come to. This guy, I don't really know where this guy's going. I just sort of took dodge just because I rolled a double and just grabbed dodge because it's good to have a block and dodge person. And sometimes I've needed someone who can dodge out and make a blitz. Having dodge has been really useful for that. But I don't really know where I'm going with him long term yet. I've sort of got five or six different roles in mind for beastmen. But yeah, with dodge in there, I don't know what to do with him at the moment. So I'm going to see if he levels again and what comes up out of that. This agility 2-1, I'm going to keep him around. I could just fire him and get an agility 3 beastman back. But I probably want at least one beastman who can just take a bit of a beating. And that's how I've been using him so far. Just there to kind of give assists, which means guard might be his first advance. Even before block, but yeah, I'll probably be going sort of block and guard. Maybe things like Dauntless might be good to give him to do some big guy hunting, and without a strength 5 player, that can be useful to have. So I'm going to keep him around. I don't see any need to. I don't need all of my beastmen to have agility 3. Doesn't mean this guy's going to find it hard to score touchdowns, so I'm sort of fishing for casualties with him. Maybe another MVP. I think that's where his 5 points came from. But the rest of them, so I've got 2 more with block, and I think these 2 are probably going to become my sort of bulldozer killer types. So I'll be looking at Mighty Blow and Claw on those, and maybe piling on. Excuse me. And that's the sort of build you see a lot in Chaos teams, but you quite often. Excuse me. You can quite often see it spammed a bit, and you can get 6 or 7 beastmen like that. I only want 2. I think there are too many other roles that beastmen can fulfill that make your team better, rather than just trying to take everyone off the pitch, which is a bit boring and not fun for your opponent. So I'm looking at that for those 2. Probably switch the order of Claw and Mighty Blow, so I can try and if I'm up against sort of low armor value targets, I'll prioritise Mighty Blow there and vice versa. So that's those two wrestle ones. I think I'm going to build these both as sackers in that sort of wrestle, strip ball, tackle, and again sort of switch the order of strip ball and tackle on the 2 that I take. 2 of them who aren't leveled yet are going to be ball carriers, so I'll be looking at probably one with sure hands, one with extra arms. Maybe take the other one of those later if I feel like they still need it. But I'll be prioritising skills like fend, maybe foul appearance for a bit more protection. On doubles, I'd probably look at sidestep or dodge. I think things like block and wrestle will be lower priority, because if I'm screening them properly, they shouldn't be getting blocked. And then foul appearance and fend are a bit of should be redundant, but they're extra protection. And then you may as well just throw block on them at that point as well, just for a bit more protection. But they're not going to be doing a lot of blocking themselves, so it can be useful if you need to blitz with your ball carrier to get through. So I would consider block, but I don't think they're as high priority as things that help them pick up and carry the ball better and sort of stay out of danger in that same way. So that's those. And my last beastman I want to level, which I guess might be this guy. I think the next one who levels will become this sort of kicker ball retriever type that I want. So I'll be looking at kick, big hand and extra arms to be someone who plays when I'm kicking, to get use out of kick, and then someone who can go pick the ball up even if it's in loads of tackle zones. With big hand you ignore all those penalties, which is quite good, and extra arms gives you +1 on it as well. If I roll doubles, I might consider some passing skills, maybe nerves of steel, because if you go pick up the ball in loads of tackle zones, you can then chuck it to someone without having to dodge out and ignore all the tackle zones for the pass as well. So that's the kind of idea I've got as that sort of final one. For those. That's my team. Let's go. Right, next, vampires. So this vampire team finished 4th. video's already running longer than I planned. And we're barely halfway through. So I'll try and speed up a bit. Right, so the vampires are up to 5 vampires and 9 thralls. A couple of injuries, or 3 injuries in the thralls. Let's stick with the thralls actually. So yeah, block is a solid first one to take. Guard on a double is almost automatic. Other things you could take. I think there's space for a bit of wrestle. There's no wrestle in this team yet, and yeah, we could get some wrestle thralls. A kicker could be really useful, and the things that thralls mostly do are try and keep the vampires on the pitch by being eaten by them. So basically anything that keeps them around is good, because you need them available for your vampires to keep acting. And if the opponents are taking them off the pitch, they're not available to be bitten. So yeah, things to keep them around, things to keep the vampires around are good. So it's one of the very few players in the game I'd consider maybe thick skull on a double, because it reduces their chances of being knocked out quite a bit. If they're stunned, they can still be bitten. If they're knocked out, they can't. So that'd be worth consideration maybe if you just going to have a thrall who's going to follow a vampire around and make sure they can act. Could be good for your ball carrier vampire. It might be worth trying to build a thrall who's good at scoring touchdowns, but realistically it's going to be the vampires who do most of that, and it's why the vampires have leveled quickest on this team. But yeah, other than that, anything to protect them, things like block or wrestle will protect them, and dodge is still useful in doubles. These do definitely only have general skills available. A bit more tackle in the team could be useful, but yeah, there's sort of limited things you can do with a thrall. Because vampires are the stars of the team, and they have so general agility and strength access makes them really adaptable. Only one double rolled on them so far, so looked at into passing skills. I think I might have looked at leader instead of nerves of steel, but nerves of steel can give you the potential of a really dangerous catcher, especially a strength 4 agility 4 one. Even if they're marked in the opposition half, you can throw them the ball, they're catching it on a 2, unless it's raining or something. But that's a really dangerous catcher who's really hard to bring down and has to be dealt with. So they're probably going to be looking at agility skills from now on. So things like catch will give them a reroll on that. Diving catch is going to be a limited use, although it would have the benefit of the catching and an accurate pass in the tackle zone, because the +1 to catch an accurate pass won't be that useful for an agility 4 player. So that you can make a really nice catcher out of that. I think there's definitely space for a sacker on this team, and I think a vampire would be a really scary one. So that again, that wrestle, strip ball, tackle combination, and again with agility 4, there's potential for leap as well, to make them a really scary sacker. This one could maybe lean more into strength skills and take things like mighty blow and piling on and be the person who goes injuring players. But there's probably space for leap on any of these, because some of these are getting quite deep into, or these first two anyway. Sort of block dodge and sidestep is a fantastic combination, like we saw with the elf blitzers. So maybe that as a next skill for this one. Tackle's useful if you go knocking players over. Someone with frenzy could be dangerous as well. There's space for a 6th vampire in this team still as well. But maybe the block mighty blow frenzy, then piling on could be a really dangerous player. So things worth considering there. Next up were Tonto Iron Bones, finished 5th, so they won the bottom 4 knockout playoff thing. Been a bit slow to load. I think how they doing for positionals. So we got two mummies on there. Where's the other one? 2 mummies, 2 whites. 1, 2, 3. Only 3 ghouls, so space for a 4th ghoul. And then that'll be up to 13 players. Got 2 skeletons and 3 zombies at the moment. So it might just be worth buying that 4th ghoul. There's a lot of money there actually. Steve, what are you doing? What's all that doing sitting there? Worth pointing out that everything above 150,000 in the treasury adds to the team value, so this team value should be a bit lower. I think it's not actually going to be 1,500, but that's giving up inducements, having money sitting in the treasury. So yeah, buying that fourth ghoul is a good thing to spend that on. Could get another reroll as well, because they're 140. How much are ghouls? No unleveled ones for me to see easily. 2 advances, I think that's 40. This one, I think that's 70. Oh, I think I've left the team. No, it didn't. No, 70 and 140, that's 210, so still 100,000 left after. So that'll, buying another reroll and another ghoul will get you down below your treasury, down below the dangerous part where it's just adding to the value of your team. But yeah, still 100,000 to spend after that, which might be worth keeping hold of if you need to replace a player. But you also got options like in here where you can upgrade your stadium. Once you get to level 2 as well, there's some quite nice things you can take which might be useful to look at. But the upgrading your stadium doesn't add to your team value, so it's a good thing to do to keep that down and not give up inducements. Yeah, so let's look at some of these players. Start with the mummies, because I think they're easiest, because they can only take strength. Yeah, again, like what we looked at with the Croxagore, you want a double so they can get block, then they're really dangerous. 1 level each so far, both have got guard, which is absolutely solid. They come with Mighty Blow as well, so you're now starting to run out of sort of the automatic picks on strength skills. I'd probably look at like grab or stand firm next, maybe one of each. Grab is a really useful skill just for controlling where the players you're hitting are going. And I was going to say, break tackle can be useful, but mummies are so slow that it has really limited use. Not like where we looked at it with the Saurus. But really, you ideally want a double so you can give a mummy block, and then they're just going to be so dangerous. White's only 1 leveled so far. It's taken guard, which I can understand because it's a strength skill. They're harder to get, and whites and mummies are the only ones who can take them easily on this team. But like I said with the Elf Blitzer, I'm not sure white is who I'd want kind of hanging around on the line and offering those assists, but it can still be a really useful thing to have. And with the way that Undead play, it's fine having whites getting stuck in. It's not they don't play in the same way as an Elven team. Yeah, that's it's all very subjective anyway. This, but I'd probably look at Mighty Blow on one, tackle on the other as my first advances for whites, but guard is still useful. Guard's always useful to have, but yeah, I think this next one, if it goes that sort of Mighty Blow piling on route, it will be a really dangerous player for getting people off the pitch. And you could consider Frenzy as well, and if you take a strength increase with Frenzy, it's even more dangerous, but strength increases are harder to come by. Let's look at the skeletons quickly, because they've both leveled once, both taken block, which sort of makes them pound shot whites. They don't have the strength skill access that whites do, so they'll be harder to sort of specialise in that way afterwards. But it can make them really useful players, and things like tackle next maybe, and probably guard on a double would be really useful. Sidestep could be really useful on a double. They're kind of great to use as like wingmen for your whites. So yeah, someone to go help them out. And actually pairing a block skeleton with a guard white can give you, if you're facing off 2-on-2, can give you two dice blocks just like that if you do them in the right order, which we did discuss during one of this team's games. Zombies quickly. None of the zombies have leveled or even have any star player points, but they're basically there just to be hit anyway. Can be a good candidate for wrestle, to make sure they can stand up on both downs, particularly on the opponent's team. If they're hit and have to take a both down and wrestle, they can stand up while the opponent's still laying on the floor. It's a good way to keep them standing where you want to put your assists in. Yeah, I mean zombies are zombies, and they're slow, and they're not going to score, and there's little you can do with them. But yeah, there are a few useful things. I don't think you really have enough to make like a kicker out of them, because you kind of going to want 3 zombies on the line. But if you do get a 4th one, probably by killing another player, yeah, a zombie could be a good candidate for a kicker. Let's go with the ghouls, cause so 3 ghouls so far. 2 of them are actually all really quite similar at the moment. So they're all, I mean, with block, that's kind of an all-round safety skill, which is good to have. Then we've got 2 with sure hands, 1 with agility 4. So these are all shaping up to be sort of more attacking players. The 4th ghoul, when it gets hired, I think should probably be set up as that sort of Saka role that we've looked at with wrestle, strip, ball, tackle. And movement 7 gives them a really good threat range for that as well. And coming with dodge makes them a bit more manoeuvrable to get sort of where you need at the ball carrier. I think a ghoul's a really good candidate for that sort of role. Definitely the best candidate that an undead team has, because you don't really want skeletons or zombies trying to do that. Wights come with blocks, so taking wrestle's a bit of a waste for them. Having 1 ghoul who can be really good at that sort of that defensive play of going after the ball carrier and bringing them down, I think would be a really good addition to this team. It's set up quite at the moment to be quite attacking focused, especially with the way the 3 ghouls are built. So 2 quite reliable touchdown scorers, a 3rd with agility 4 as well. But with this one having agility 4, leap is a great next advance to consider. I wouldn't want to take leap on anyone with lower than agility 4. So having that in there gives them a really good option. And yeah, a dangerous blitzing player as well, who can jump over players if they need to, and move 7 and block with the block skill rather is a good threat to have. I'm not sure what else to consider for this. If not leap, maybe things like tackle could be good. I don't know. Maybe it might be worth building them as a catcher as well. So you've got catch and diving catch and things like that to think about. And then maybe sprint or sure feet. So there's loads of other, because there are so many different options. I probably wouldn't have been building them in to fulfill the same role. It's good to have a good spread of things that you can do. But yeah, they're still all 3 of them are still going to be solid players though for this team. This one's taken a niggling injury as well, isn't it? I think, yeah. So with armor 7, no regeneration, no apothecary, and then this one having a niggling injury. Let's see if this ghoul survives another season. Is quite vulnerable at the moment. Next up with the Orc team, who I can't find now. So after their last game, hired a troll. So haven't played with the troll in a league game yet. Have some really useful players in. So having a goblin and a troll obviously gives you access to throw teammate plays, which is something that is now the only team in this league who can do that. So that's something we're all going to have to watch out for and be able to defend against. Obviously 2 ways you can throw teammates. You can throw them with the ball to try and score quickly, or you can throw the goblin at other players to try and knock them over. And they're both both things to watch out for. If you want to, you can sort of, only having 1 troll, this is probably a bit of a waste, but you can build a troll to sort of optimize a bit towards that, and things like strong arm can be helpful to make that a bit more reliable. If you roll doubles, you might want to take passing skills for it, but honestly, a troll is much better used as like a guard platform to give assists to other players and then maybe hit people if they get the chance, because you're going to struggle to get block on them. It can make them. They're going to be an unreliable player anyway, with loner and really stupid. But yeah, and having not having block as well is sort of even worse for that, for reliability. But it's still a dangerous player with their high strength and mighty blow, and they're going to be tough to get off the pitch as well, with their high armor and then regeneration. Goblin, I'd probably develop this goblin as a catcher, because you've got 2 throwers on the team who've got one there and one further down somewhere. Where's the second thrower? Didn't die, did he? No, there we go. So 2 throwers. They've got no one to pass the ball to, basically, or no one reliable to pass the ball to. So catch as a first advance on this goblin would be brilliant, because then you've got someone who can catch the ball quite reliably. And then I'd probably be looking at things to keep them out of danger, like sidestep would be good. Maybe sprint and sure feet as a combination to make them a bit quicker once they've got the ball. I mean, you're going to struggle to get block or wrestle because it's a general skill. Diving catch would give them a +1 on their catching accurate throws. It can be useful. But I'd probably build, if you're going to have one goblin in the team, I'd probably build them as a catcher in an orc team. And if you want a second one to throw around, still got space in the roster for that. Black Orcs, I've been quite slow leveling, a lot like my Chaos Warriors. Only one of them have gone up and has taken block. And I probably do the same sort of skill set as my Chaos Warriors here. With Black Orcs, probably block first on all of them, then 3 guard, 1 mighty blow is probably how I'd look at it. And then splash in skills like stand firm and grab later on. Frenzy on a Black Orc, that maybe the mighty blow one could be really dangerous. There's Frenzy on 2 blitzers here. A Frenzy on strength 3 players is quite dangerous, but if you're careful, it's still really useful. Frenzy and mighty blow is a good combination because they've got more chance of knocking players over. But we got so 2 mighty blow blitzers, 2 frenzy blitzers, but with no crossover there. And then there's this one here. This team's lacking a bit of tackle, and with sort of an increasing number of dodge players in the league, it would be good to get that on somebody. So there's a lot of ghouls around, a lot of skinks, and then a couple of vampires with dodge. One of my beastmen has dodge, so some tackle on the team could be really good. And I think a blitzer is a good candidate for tackle. They're the quickest players on your team. They've got block. If you want to blitz someone who has the dodge skill, a blitzer with tackle is the best person to go to handle that. And he's probably pairing tackle with strip ball as well gives you a good player to as a sacker to go do that. Because they come with block, they're not the best at that. Because wrestle's better than block for bringing down a ball carrier, especially because if the ball carrier has block, you've both got block, nothing happens. If one player has wrestle, both players go down, the ball's dropped. So it might be good to see a lineman take that sort of sacker build. They're a bit slower, but having wrestle on them, I mean, depending who you're playing and who's holding the ball, it just gives you that bit of an edge in bringing down that ball carrier. I think the only other, I think two linemen in this team, 3 linemen in this team. So there's a strength 4 one, which is definitely the right thing to do. If you get a double 6, snap up that +1 strength. I don't think they've levelled since then. They've been strength 4 a long time. So this guy could just basically do with becoming an extra Black Orc. Can't take strength skills, so block's going to be the obvious first choice, but then he's going to struggle to keep up with the Black Orcs in that more specialised way, but might be a good candidate for tackle, so sort of block tackle, maybe fend to keep prevent follow-ups and stuff like that. There's this last injured lineman as well, who I might consider building as, it's a niggling injury I think, isn't it? I think it always is if they're not greyed out at the time with that injury, and don't have a decrease in any stats. I might consider either playing this guy as a kicker, could be useful. So he's not going to be getting stuck in as much. Maybe as like a designated fouler, so he's chuck dirty player on him. Bring him on late in halves to when it's going to be a short drive of a couple of turns, and just foul people until he gets sent off. Is one of the things I like to do with sort of permanently injured players, and it might be worth considering for this guy. Throwers, the last thing we're on. So both levelled once. One's got block, one's got dodge. So there's no real optimisation on throwing the ball yet, but because they've not had anyone to throw the ball to reliably until perhaps this goblin takes catch, that's sort of understandable, and there's been sort of a running game going on, which is much more common with orcs, a passing game anyway. A dodge and block are both good skills for that. Snapping dodge up on a double, it's either going to be that or sidestep for me as the choices for someone who's going to be a ball carrier. But might want to consider building one to be really good at throwing, one to be really good at carrying the ball, and I'll probably pick the dodge one to be the ball carrier. because dodge can keep him moving, keep him out of trouble a bit more. Although maybe the block one, because on someone who's going to be hanging back and then trying to make a throw, it probably doesn't make much difference at this point anyway. Yeah, so a ball carrier, you've got sure hands already. Fend is really good for a ball carrier. Yeah, and then you've got the whole suite of passing skills, so probably like accurate, safe throw. Maybe Nerves of Steel can be a good one. If you take diving catch on a goblin, Hail Mary pass might be worth considering, but it's a bit of a desperate play. It's never going to be plan A, I don't think. But yeah, it's coming together quite nicely, that Orc team. There's some of the development of the blitzers seems a bit lost maybe, because you've got, I think if you had Mighty Blow and Frenzy on the same player twice, on the same players, that would be great. I think both of these just leveled up after the same game, and the coach thought, yeah, I'm going to have some Frenzy at the team, and chucked it on both, which is fine. It's just maybe lacking definition in them a bit, just by taking Frenzy first on that one, but it's not really a problem. It's just I just don't know that I'd have done it. Is all. It's not wrong. It's just maybe a weird decision. So 7th, almost there. We're not going to look at the Undead team who've dropped out for now because they're not playing in the next season. I don't have any further development to consider. Now this one, there have been some interesting development choices in. They're down to 2 Pestigors now, which is my fault because I accidentally killed one with Halfling. So next purchase really has to be another Pestigor. Really has to be 2 more Pestigors. I think 4 Pestigors on the team is really important for a Nurgle team, because I've been playing with one recently. See my other series for more. Sorry Ben, I killed a Pestigor and I'll never live it down. Right, so Beast of Nurgle, let's start there. One advance so far, which is Guard, and Guard and Tentacles on 1 Beast of Nurgle. I think once you've filled in with some reliable Nurgle warriors who have block, and there are 4 of them on the team, only one of them's leveled so far, but if you have 4 block warriors and a Tentacles, Guard, Beast of Nurgle, you basically don't ever need to hit anyone with the Beast of Nurgle. It can just stand there and assist on blocks for everyone it's touching, and no one can get away from it, and it just becomes really dangerous. You don't risk losing its tackle zone if you don't act with it, and that can be quite an interesting way of using a Beast of Nurgle. It can be a bit of a waste because you're not getting the most out of Mighty Blow. You are still getting some benefit from Disturbing Presence, maybe Foul Appearance as well, to keep it where it is. That all comes in as part of keeping it where it is. If you roll a double next, block is like an auto take basically. If you don't roll a double, I'd probably look at Stand Firm next, just for more of that keeping it where you put it. If your opponents can't push it back, you can keep it where it's most annoying with Guard, keep it marking players who you don't want to be moving with Tentacles. So I think next advance, if not a double, should maybe be Stand Firm. And then you can lean even more into that, not having to activate it unless you really want to, and not risking the really stupid roll. I think if you get stuck having to make a 4+ really stupid roll, it's better to just not act with it, because with Guard and Tentacles you need it to have its tackle zone for it to be effective in the opponent's turn. Warriors. So warriors like my ones and like the Black Orcs have been leveling slowly. It's been a relatively low casualty count league. And only just one of them levelled in that last game against Halflings, got 2 casualties to move up from 4 to 8 points, and has taken block, which I think for all 4 of these warriors, like with my Chaos Warriors, unless you're rolling a strength increase, block is the necessary first skill to take, because in that even in that game last night there were so many skulled up both down rolls being rolled in the game. It's just every time that comes up, it's an example of how having block on a player just saves you a turnover. And because the Halfling Master Chef being involved in last night's game, the Nurgle team were really low on rerolls for the whole game, and because they've only got 2 as well. That's something that they've been suffering with a bit. So Warriors, I'd go sort of block on all of them first, then 3 Guard, 1 Mighty Blow, in that same sort of way. You have the option of adding tentacles in as well, and I think at most 2 more tentacle players alongside a beast, you can cover 9 squares worth of line with tentacles if you position them properly, and that's scary to face, and it really leans into their theme of sort of controlling the pitch and dominating the centre. So yeah, probably tentacle on a couple of guard warriors would be great, and then sort of the mighty blow claw piling on combo on the 4th one. Yeah, that could be cool. Pestigores, got one so far who's taken mighty blow as a first skill. I would have taken block myself first, just for that safety, but you know, it's perfectly valid to take mighty blows, have someone who's better at getting players off the pitch. I unfortunately haven't scored any more points since they took that, but block has got to be the next skill on this Pestigore. Then you've got someone who can reliably go run up to someone, knock them over, and have a good chance of getting them off the pitch. Yeah, and that's great. And then probably claw after that to have that classic sort of 3 skill combo. I'm getting very dry, so let's have that coffee today. Right, the only other one in the team now at the moment is this ball carrier one who's got extra arms. Like I was explaining in my team, I would have done this as my last Pestigore, and in my Nurgle team my last Pestigore will be this player basically. But he's still looking at building them as someone who's going to carry the ball, so might want to consider shorthands next for a reroll on that 2+ pickup roll, but things like fend would probably be more valuable. Fend and or block or wrestle, going forwards, and on doubles I'd probably consider either dodge or sidestep, or sure feet might be useful as well, just to help get them over the line if you're using go for it. And then 2 other Pestigores I'd probably build like I'm doing in my own team, build them defensively with like wrestle first, and then one with strip ball and tackle, and the other one with to be more of a sweeper. So along with wrestle I might consider things like some of the strength skills, maybe like grab could be useful if you're trying to control where a ball carrier is going, if you're going after them. Tentacles might be good, but it's of limited use on a strength 3 player. It's better with higher strength players. Diving tackle would be great on a double, which is what I've got in my chaos team, a sort of diving tackle wrestle beastman. And then you're looking at things that have their limited use, like pass block maybe for that sort of defensive player. That's where I'm going to head with my Pestigore, who's in that role anyway, I think. Rotters. So Rotters is where we've got some interesting skill choices. So this strength 2 one, who used to be one of my beastmen, leveled last night and took extra arms. And I think if you're going to use a low strength player anywhere, maybe as a ball carrier is okay. I think this coach has just found it frustrating having a lot of failed pickup rolls in the game, which is why extra arms is coming up a few times on these players. I personally would have either made this one a designated fouler, so gone dirty player, or maybe given them dauntless and use them as a bit of a sort of sacrificial piece to go after high strength targets. Maybe gone that way with them. But you can try and use them as a ball carrier. Because they're slower than Pestigores, it's going to be harder to score with them, but it's still something you can be trying to do. I wouldn't have gone that way with them. And honestly, at strength 2 as well, Rotter's possibly a candidate for just being fired. But so if this doesn't work out, I think this one's probably for the chop, and then just to be replaced with another one at some point. I want to check actually. They should have had a free Rotter last night because they killed one of my halflings, and I can't see where it is. Looks like it hasn't turned up. It's a real shame. Yeah, I don't know what's happened there. And anyway, this other one who started out as a designated fouler, so has dirty player, and then took extra arms as well, so it sort of gives them, I think, too many roles, and Rotters aren't really important enough to try and cover all your bases. I'm not sure. I think I'd have taken probably wrestle as that second choice, to keep them available to help keep them available to go fouling players if you want someone who's going to do that. But yeah, rotters are probably going to be quite short-lived on these teams. So you can't really rely on them too much, and eventually you'll only have 2 on the pitch at a time. But it'd be good to look at things like making one a kicker. You could maybe have that sort of kicker ball retriever sort of role that I'm looking at with one of my beastmen, to have sort of kick, big hand, extra arms. Maybe that's something you could do with this one actually. Could be someone who picks the ball up once you've knocked it clear of somebody, so that then big hand next may be good, and then maybe kick after that, and then they eventually just play when you're kicking off, and yeah, can be that player. That's something you could try and do with that strength 2 player, because they don't really need strength to kick the ball and then go pick it up. Yeah, so that could be worth considering. Anyway, that's come out a lot longer than I imagined. So I'm going to stop it there, and I think later in the year, haven't really spoken to all the other coaches in the league yet about when we're going to go for season 2. I had in mind sometime in November maybe to try and do that, but we'll see how it goes, and I think we'll come back and do a season 2 at a later point, and then we'll have probably some more games in this playlist where we can look over stuff. Bye for now.